Welcome back to This Week in Bevy. This week, a series of improvements were made to the reflect derive, such as this change in 19906, as well as a number of other PRs, and rendering is landing features and refactors, including light textures. Interesting new functionality is on the horizon for a Hanabi Particle Editor, as well as performance improvements in crates like Avian. We also highlight some commercial Bevy usage from Nominal and Foresight this week, as well as playtests for To Build a Home and other games. And kicking it off with light textures, or what is also known as light cookies, light functions, or light projectors, which were introduced in 18031, these enable effects like window shadows, faked caustics, and more. A point light texture can be added to a point light, a spotlight texture can be added to a spotlight, or a directional light texture can be added to, well, a directional light, to apply a texture mask to the light source to modulate its intensity. This is super exciting for also features like dappled lighting, and I'm looking forward to playing with it. Moving on to the RenderStartup schedule, which was introduced in 19841, which provides a place to spawn render app specific logic and has been used in a number of places this week, including examples like in 19886 for the custom post-processing example and in rendering related crates. This is basically the render world equivalent of the startup in the main world. And clients using the Bevy remote protocol that intend to build world inspector style functionality would benefit from an endpoint that retrieves all of the relevant information for all entities. 19857 does exactly that, introducing BRP functionality that returns all component values. And 18739 adds a new way to use easing functions that fits in with the larger curve system. Using these structs directly allows sampling each of the curve types. Here you can see smooth step, elastic, as well as steps. There's also a bit of assembly analysis in here. If you're interested in that, go check out the PR. And with Bevy Feathers, the series of Bevy standard widgets continues to improve. 19928 introduces toggle switches to Bevy Feathers, while 19900 introduces checkboxes. We also see a core scroll bar added in 19803. And there's a bit of a crate reorganization going on, especially in the rendering world, and Bevy's UI rendering is no exception, which was moved into the Bevy UI render in 18703 to make it easier to improve the UI renderer, allow the UI renderer to be used with other UI frameworks that aren't Bevy UI, and for using alternative renderers like Velo. Work was also done this week to enable a new Bevy Light crate that we'll see next week. And if you've written a custom material or used lower level rendering APIs, you might be familiar with the Specialized function, which allows the customization of render pipelines. 17373 changes the underlying functionality to be composable via a new specializer trait. The specializer trait now mutates a base descriptor instead of producing one in the first place, and the new APIs, including get base descriptor and specializer, can be examined in the shader custom phase item example. As of 19921, applications can now specify wgpu adapter name as an environment variable, or wgpu force fallback adapter to give some priority to rendering adapters. And of course, Alice's merge train is a maintainer level view into active PRs and how the Bevy sausage is made, which if you're interested in what's going on before these PRs are merged, I highly encourage you to check out these weekly threads. And up first in our showcases is a local co-op arcade platformer with a focus on score combos, somewhat in the spirit of Bubble Bobble or Snow Bros. All placeholder graphics and audio are thanks to free assets from itch.io at the moment. And next up, we've got a static view of Bevy Animation Graph and Avian. This is new support in Bevy Animation Graph for attaching Avian colliders to bones in skeletal animation, including a new UI for it in the editor. And the Museum of Dead Card Games is an online multiplayer anti-trading trading card game where you can design cards and bring them to a shared deck to fight an opponent. First one to draw from an empty deck loses. This game had its first online in-browser playtesting weekend over the last weekend. If you missed it, you can check out the gameplay here in this YouTube video. And Nominal and Foresight are using Bevy and Rust to build a variety of projects, visualizing datasets, machine vision, modeling satellite constellations, and more. These are commercial applications of Bevy. There is a long series of posts, about 6 of them at current count, that you can go check out if this looks interesting to you. And the To Build a Home playtest is underway, which is a project that we've seen quite a few updates from. To Build a Home is a 2D life simulation game. If this looks interesting to you, definitely go check out the Discord thread. And in the meantime, we'll move on to this demo, which is flowing water. This is the user's first attempt at flowing water. A comment in the Discord thread suggests checking out some additional information on the Wayback Machine for those interested. And then we got an update from the Hanabi Particle Editor. This is a refinement of the widgets for the Hanabi Particle Editor. Another polishing pass will happen before the open sourcing of this project, but the author is feeling pretty good about it at this moment. And then we've got RoomMD, which is inspired by AA Circuit, which is a program where you can draw electronic schematics with ASCII characters. RoomMD is a tool to create ASCII art sketches of a home as 3D models. It is a tool to create, thus, 3D building plans. And next up, we've got the next big step for Avian performance. This is a parallel constraint solver with graph coloring. Some physics engines, such as Rapier, use inter-island parallelism, where bodies are grouped into disjoint simulation islands that can be safely solved in parallel, since each body only belongs to a single island. However, it does not help with large islands, such as big piles of objects, because constraints within each island must still be solved serially. The benefit of graph coloring shows with a large pyramid, Avian now scales to multiple threads very well, even beating Rapier in performance when multi-threaded. Rapier has a very flat profile in comparison, as it needs to solve the whole pyramid serially. So TLDR, some really nice performance improvements for Avian coming soon, and if you're interested in it, definitely go subscribe to the PR to see when it merges. Moving on, we've got a pixelated look and some theming to this coding/puzzle game. As you can see, the levels kind of iterating through a number of themes here. And then we've got some really fun work on procedurally generated trees. These trees have a real-time eGUI development interface for configuring parameters, which lets you just play with them while the application is running and generate some new trees. And then we've got a 2048 implementation with various board sizes, implemented as a plugin test case for some in-development plugins. And here we see improvements to the Bevy Linter, in this case the insert unit bundle lint specifically. In the process, the linter has been hooked up to VSCode's automatic suggestions, which you can see here. Some really nice improvements for the linter in the future. And here we've got a demo of some font storage with source code. This is storing and using a variety of fonts in a semi-responsive way. They're stored as tables, with each font having a regular font, bold, italic, default font size, and default font color. Each font can then be referred to via relationships on entities with text, with a default font as the fallback. And finally, in the showcases, we've got some Bevy atmospherics tests. This is a series of experiments with different values for Bevy atmospherics, resulting in a visual board of the effects of various value changes. And let's kick off the crate releases with haalka 0.5.1. haalka is an ergonomic reactivity library powered by FRP signals in Futures signals. It's a port of some web UI libraries, such as Moonzoon and Dominator, and offers the same signal semantics as a thin layer on top of Bevy UI. And here's a crate that I've started thinking of as Gary2D, which is probably not how you say this. It's probably G-Array2D, because it's a 2D array with signed index and offset support. And next up, we've got a big one in Lightyear 0.21. Lightyear is a full-featured networking library for Bevy, and 0.21 has brought a full rewrite of the crate, which in turn brings things like Bevy enhanced input support and more. The documentation includes examples and a tutorial, as well as a work-in-progress book, so if you're interested, definitely go check out those resources. And then we've got Bevy Auto Plugin 0.3. Bevy Auto Plugin is designed to reduce the boilerplate required when creating Bevy plugins. With new stabilizations in Rust 1.88, the need to use nightly with Bevy Auto Plugin has been removed, which is the major feature of this release. And Bevy Northstar 0.3 is out. Bevy Northstar is an HPA star crate for Bevy. In 0.3, the API has substantially changed as a result of user feedback. Accordingly, the Bevy Northstar book has also been updated. And Bevy WebGate is a fork of Bevy Web Server that adds multi-port support, allowing you to run multiple servers on multiple ports, and IP binding control, which binds servers to specific IP addresses. And it's always nice to see a release for Bevy Velo. This is 0.10.2. Bevy Velo is a cross-platform 2D compute shader-centric vector graphics rendering library, which is a whole mouthful. There is default support for rendering text and scenes, with additional opt-in features for SVG and Lottie files. And over in the devlogs, we've got Voxel Hex. The underlying project here is an exploration of voxel ray tracing in Rust that uses Bevy for rendering. The video details a visibility-based data streaming technique that keeps GPU buffers in check. And that's it for this week. As always, on the website, thisweekinbevy.com, you can check out all the pull requests that were merged, as well as the issues that were opened if you want to get involved. That's it for me. I'll see you in the next one, and have a great rest of your week.